Good evening, and welcome to Read Aloud 3, where it is you, me, and the Trinity. And a big welcome back after a month today. I realized that I posted a video here on this channel a month ago after stating I hope to be recording again tomorrow. So that was unintentional, obviously. But I would just say that I hope that you'll continue to join me when I do have videos as few as and far between as they could be. But we just keep plugging along and picking up from where we left off. Okay? And sometimes it'd be like that. But I do want to pick up from where I left off, and I know I actually did leave off. I was wearing the same shirt. I had some questions about the last chapter. This shows that I am definitely a big children's book fan, which is what I started reading aloud. Well, actually started this channel reading aloud the Bible, but I had another channel I was thinking of reading children's stories aloud on, and I did something a little different because of copyright laws. But anyway, come see me on that channel, strange me enough. But I haven't been posting there either, so if you haven't seen it, there'll be plenty of videos for you to watch that have been posted in the past. Anyway, let's get going on what the content is for today, and that is a whole new book. However, I need to address the questions that I had in finishing the book of Ezra, because I said, I'm going to do a little research on this, and I'll say that largely what I found in that big question about why was it the best way to repent for the Israelites to leave their wives who they'd married from other nations and children, because that just didn't seem right? It didn't seem like God's modus of operation. And one of the things is, firstly, that we have it clear that it was about marrying other people of other faiths, not other races. Okay, but because God wanted to keep the purity of the faith, and so that his people wouldn't follow after other gods, is why he made that law so firmly, particularly in the Old Testament by the law of Moses, so that the nation could, learn his ways, and that wouldn't be thwarted. And so that's why those measures were so extreme. I had made mention of, the first king, Saul, and how he was supposed to be wiping out a whole people, but didn't follow God's command on it. So when we don't follow, that was a command that followed, I'm sure, I'll be honest, I don't recall how they became involved with this people, but we do know that Saul had some reasons why he didn't do what he was asked. I don't know if it was like he had a relationship with those people, but this, he did say he feared the people. That was one thing I know was a downfall, but in this instance, there was marriages involved, right? So sometimes your own sin can put you in a place where there's no real good solution. This is what one person who was commenting on this chapter pointed out, and I thought, yeah, I feel like I've seen that, and that person had been in a counseling position with others, and seen lots of situations where that can be the case, where it's just like there's no real good out of this, now that something needs to be done to actually, get back on track for what God's purpose was. And so I'm going to read just a little bit of the Got Questions site, where it just denotes a little bit of the difference between what was going on in the Old Testament as opposed to the New Testament covenant. Says, we know that God hates divorce, as it states in Malachi 2:16. That hasn't changed. And some have asked how this event is related to the issue of divorce in today's society. A couple of relevant points can be considered. First, this event took place during a previous dispensation, in a time when God's chosen people were to live according to the law of Moses. Christians today should not look to this account for justification to divorce a spouse. I don't know if that was the place I was actually trying to fill up, but also 1 Corinthians 7:15-16 gives the related principle for today's believers married to unbelievers. And this is a good thing to point out. Paul wrote, if the unbeliever leaves, let it be so. The brother or sister is not bound in such circumstances. God has called us to live in peace. How do you know, wife, on the other hand, in so many words, whether you will save your husband? Or how do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? In other words, there's the in other words, a believer is called to stay with an unbelieving spouse whenever possible. However, if the unbelieving spouse abandons the relationship, the believing spouse is not to dispute.